Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Werewolf the Apocalypse, Book of Hungry Names. Yes, we're back. Happy Thursday, everybody. We had to stop again in the middle of the chapter like I always have to do because I just can't get through that much of it because I talked so much reading, and then my voice absolutely gives up. But what did we do last time? As reminded in the chat, thank you, Jerry, we went on a date with Podge, who's a workaholic, and took us to some sort of a church, like some sort of a community outreach program in a church to eat pizza and give people pizza. That was sweet, sort of, kind of. Not what I was expecting, but what else could I expect from a bonar? We're also investigating we also had a really weird encounter at Gorski Manor involving some dead people. That was creepy and weird. I don't remember all the details of it specifically because it was last week and my brain just resets, obviously. But we are also investigating Scarper. So sorry about that. Who was taken over, possessed, killed by Eater of Names, the Black Spiral Dancer. So therefore, we're trying to figure out how and when and why that happened. And we've enlisted the help of Giselle, who we saw on a video footage at Gorski Manor, murdering someone I don't remember who it is. I'm the best at this. Aren't I the best? Oh yeah, we're in the what the fuck part of the story. Yep, that's where we are. We're in the part where things get weird. And so we really only have 2 weeks to finish this game, which I don't see it happening, because after July 23rd, in case you haven't noticed, or didn't see on our socials, Werewolf the Apocalypse Purgatory is dropping on the 23rd, so I'll be starting to stream that. However, I don't see that taking nearly as long as this, so if I don't finish in 2 weeks, I'll be back with this after I'm done streaming Purgatory, up until when VTM Reckoning of New York comes out. Then I'll be streaming that. Busy all the time. That's me. But yeah, let's jump right back into it. I'm excited. I'm excited to actually attempt to finish this game because I don't think it's ever taken me this long to finish a choice of games. But on my personal channel, usually I just read it every day. But that's not the case here. God, my voice. Anyway, here we go. I'm already regretting it. You immediately realize that the notebook isn't in Scarper's handwriting. The handwriting within is elegant and aggressive. Tape alongside reads Resurrectionism 412 in thick Sharpie. Right, we're in a cabin in the woods where Scarper was staying when he came to the east, when he came to Hampton, or came to the area that we live in. That's where we are. The notebook is entirely full and ends as it begins, halfway through a thought. But 90% of the way through, Eater of Names discusses limitations and flaws in his approach. Here you find Scarper's ragged handwriting, his own notes and thoughts. These are Scarper's plans to escape the infection that was killing him. Okay, infection, that's what he's referring to it as. And what's this diagram? That looks like the pattern line you mapped. You take a picture of the page, you'll send that to Podge the moment you have more data. He might be able to use it to learn more about the pattern line, right? And the pattern line is the thing we saw when we were investigating the fallen Broadbrook cairn. And we saw it there by a diner that's like inside the corrupted area. Yeah, we're not going to finish in 2 weeks. Still got a good bit left to go. Well, that's just my luck, isn't it, Jerry? This is just my luck. This isn't Scarper's, Giselle says. Eater of Names wrote this. She starts putting it in her pocket, then freezes when Nin growls. You can make copies, you say. Giselle seems ready to push for the original while you get copies. Then she says, we'll copy it at my place. I want time to read it. We need to clean up here, you say, not immediately agreeing to the witch's plan, though it seems reasonable. You pocket the notebook. You don't want to leave anything for subsequent investigators to find, so you and Nin bag up the filthy bandages and bedding, put all the surgical tools in the box, and snap it shut, and even clear out the empty cereal boxes. The notebook is safe in your leather jacket as you wipe down every surface, then head back to Giselle's car. She broods all the way back to her house. The old woman is gone by then. The mastiff hides the moment it smells Nin. Giselle's antique printer can still manage color copies, so she starts scanning page after page of the notebook. You start reading the copies, then switch to the real thing as Giselle assembles the photocopies and starts her own perusal. But it's clear that it will take you a long time to read this text. So we can get your help against this maniac, Giselle? Even the Cult of Fenris has to recognize Eater of Names as the real threat. Do they, though? Do they? Understand, Giselle says, that if I bring this information directly to Heinrich, he will attack the cairn. Heinrich has his uses, but he can't know about this. Hiding the truth from him sounds dangerous, Nin says. She doesn't sound concerned for Giselle's safety. Leave that to me, dog, Giselle snarls. What's the prob, dog? Now, if you'll excuse me, I'd like a late dinner, and I don't feed monsters. She's polite enough to drop you off at home. Of course, you don't need to tell her the address. Giselle knows where you live. That's concerning, but that's fine. I mean, I want to know. We keep calling her witch, and she's not a vampire. Otherwise, she wouldn't refer to us as monsters and herself as not, I assume. And I assume the cult of Fenris wouldn't be like super, they would be like, vampire, kill it, you know, in their mindset. So I don't know if she's a mage. And I hate to break it to mages, but y'all can be monsters too. Yeah, she's the mage from Night Road. Oh. Okay. Okay. Y'all can be monsters too, just saying. Everyone gets a chance to check out Eater of Names' notebook, which ends up in Elton's flat, next to the bust of Athena, who now wears a knitted Santa cap. That's cute. But no one wants to look at it for too long. You're going to need to clear some time to investigate it more seriously. You and Elton carry on a fairly extensive email conversation with Giselle, who is helpful, if not exactly civil. She obviously hates the cult of Fenris, but her bigotry and general malice prevents her from forming any kind of alliance with your group, and her emails slowly dwindle. You're somewhat glad not to interact with Giselle so much after she murders Drax. Drax, right, that was the person who was murdered at Gorski Manor. You can't prove it, but one day the fixer just disappears. Mr. Gaultier texts you a few times about his son, but you can answer honestly that you don't know where he is. The world seems to swallow Drax up. No, oh no. No, right. Drax is the son of Mr. Gaultier. I can't remember the name of the person Drax murdered the person in Gorski Manor. He put a pillow over his head, I think. But I can't remember who that was. Mr. Gaultier texts you a few times about his son, but you can answer honestly that you don't know where he is. The world seems to swallow Drax up, and a kind of delirium analog settles over his fate, preventing regular humans from following up on what happened. It's a frightening display of Giselle's power. Any one of you could kill a human, but she just excises him. Drax is gone, like he never was. Well, that's the power of a will worker, which honestly, scariest powers in the world of darkness. Because as long as you're willing to pay the price of paradox, you can do almost anything you want. Your thoughts are on the notebook as you leave work early to run some errands. 2 cops watch you as you run errands after work and before visiting Elton. You see them twice in 2 different locations, the UPS store and then outside the library, which you don't like. You remember Hasselman and Hoop. They shoved you against the bricks and went through your shit, but you're not sure they remember you. Maybe Daphne Clear scrambled their brains, or maybe they just see a lot of overworked people running errands every day and can't remember them all. You've also seen a bike officer around town just sort of popping out of alleys when you're going on your errands. The local crust punks consider Hasselman and Hoop dangerous, according to some of Nin's friends. The bike cop is just a creep, but you keep an eye on all of them. Maybe you look like a bum, I probably do. Maybe that's why they're staring at you, so your next stop is your cabin for a quick shower. Oh my god, we're gonna see Podge then, I hope. A loud mechanical bang echoes down your dirt road in the cold, still winter air. You didn't think Podge was home today? What is he messing with? You hurry down the road, then freeze when you see what's happening to the cabin. The solar panels Podge installed on the roof lie in heaps on the snowy ground around the house. Why? The wind turbine's pole is down, and the turbine lies smashed against the side of the cabin where it fell, cracking a window. The window to your room is open. Someone is throwing plants, grow lights, and computer equipment out the window onto the driveway. Oh my god. Al Goutier's truck is parked next to another smaller pickup, and you count 2 Hampshire County Sheriff's Department SUVs nearby. Mr. Gaultier himself stands in the open doorway, shouting up to his son Todd, and another man you don't recognize. When Todd spots you, he freezes and Al Gautier turns slowly. There you fucking are, he snaps. We're removing all this illegal shit you put in your house, in violation of your lease, fucker. He straightens his pork pie hat and glares at you. Oh, I want to break his nose. Waiting to see how M5 deals with Paradox, wanting a hunger-like system. Oh yeah, for sure. For sure. I hope that's what we get. I am not so secretly in love with Mage. I think it's one of the like cooler World of Darkness settings because it is so open-ended. There's so much that you can do. I am beyond thrilled and excited to see how it would get streamlined for 5th edition. Beyond excited. Like I'm just vibrating every day, hoping to get news about it. I want to break his nose because I'm not Arun. I know I'm Ragabash and I should do something less reckless. But me, Huddy, has a particular like triggering thing when people throw away my stuff. So I want to break his nose. That's my first thought and my first reaction. So I'm going to do that. We're not here to make smart choices. Nope. Your fist crunches Mr. Goultier's nose and sends his little hat flying as he falls against the doorframe. Motherfucker, he groans, blood pouring over his fleece. Todd and the guy you don't recognize fly out the front window, leading with their fists. You sidestep the new guy's uppercut, duck when Todd throws a wrench at your head, and square off as Mr. Goultier stumbles back to his feet, fumbling for something in his coat. The police jump out of their vehicles, shouting and pointing their weapons. Mr. Goultier raises his revolver, and the cops open fire, killing him instantly. Whoops. That's an oopsie daisy. That's my bad. And shattering the windows in front of your house. They then turn on you as Todd and the other guy yell in fear and confusion. Oh my god. I could shift into my Krynos form and charge the cops and rip them apart. And I did not like Mr. Gaultier. I think he was a jerk. Choices were made. I think he's a jerk. But I did not expect the cops to murder him. I mean, I should have though, right? That should have been my first thought. That I should have expected them to do that. I thought they would shoot me. Not, good morning, welcome in. I did not expect them to shoot him. Well, oh. Should I run away? I'm trying to assess how mad everyone's gonna be if I just kill everyone. I'm trying to assess how mad everyone's gonna be at me. And also how much I care how mad everyone's gonna be at me. I think I'm gonna leave because I just okay, I'm sorry, hang on. Let me rationalize this. He was in my house and I understand he's my landlord, but he was throwing my shit, and he wasn't just like taking my shit out of my house and putting it next to my stoop and then having cops look in my house. He wasn't doing that. It literally said that they were throwing shit out my window and probably breaking it, right? So that seems like a normal reaction to break his nose, right? Am I the bad guy? Is it me? Am I wrong? All right, I'm gonna try and run because I don't want to murder a whole bunch of people. I would make the worst werewolf. I never feel good about murdering people. Because I feel like in werewolf it's harder to avoid than in vampire. That's saying a lot. I'm gonna try and run. Gunfire cracks as you run for the corner of the house. Rounds zip over your head. One blows a hole in the wall. Another bullet slams you bodily into the wall of the cabin, leaving a dark stain as you stumble. But you've reached the corner of the building. Great, I'm shot. You throw yourself behind as bullets tear chunks out of the wall. You keep moving, limping badly, but still mobile. You hurry across the field towards the woods, breathing heavily as the cops reposition themselves. More wild gunfire behind you, but they're shooting blind. You disappear into the woods and keep running, not slowing down until you hit a suburban street. You pass all the way through until you're in another patch of scrub. Only then do you stop to catch your breath. No, I'm not going to shift. I'm not going to do it. Ah! I've lost the cabin for good. Oh no. I shouldn't have broken his nose. I regret all of my decisions. Podge is never gonna like me again. Whoopsies. You've lost the cabin for good, and you don't want the cops finding everything you have there. You text Podge and tell him what happened. Shit. Okay, stay away from the cabin. I'm gonna do a thing. Help me. I'm an idiot. You hear a little whoomp in the distance. An explosion? You climb a low hill, moving cautiously over the ice, and try to see over the suburban houses to your cabin. It should be due north of your position. That's when a second explosion goes off like a missile strike. Fragments of wood and metal fly 1,000 feet into the air, then start to rain down on the airfield. Half a minute later, a faint hot wind reaches you, carrying the smell of blackened wood and burning accelerants. You get off. He's such a pyromaniac. You get off the hill and keep moving, checking your phone again when you reach the train tracks. Everyone's in the group chat. Did Northampton blow up? Podge, what was that? It might have been a meteor impact. Ah, guys, I think I blew up Sierra. What are we all talking about? Damn it, she was cute. This sucks. No, I'm here. Melody, get out of your hobbit hole and look south. Oh, come on. Hello, welcome in. I love Podge. I do too. Of course, he would go right for arson. We have discovered the domino effect, or, well, that escalated rapidly event. Yeah, whoopsies. Whoopsie-doopsie. Whoopsie-doo. My idols? I've offended the gods? Why would I say that? What a bizarre thing to say. Yeah, so, who wants to put me up for the night? And maybe possibly future nights? I will do it. What happened to downtown? Elton, did you summon thunder? Just say thunder. Thunder or something. I don't know how to say that word. It's sometimes lonely out here, so you can stay as long as you don't plant bombs. Or palms. I didn't do anything. I'm just reading about slave patrols in the 19th century New England, trying to relax, as we all do. We all do that. Actually, the old Beninsky mansion might be the best place, mostly because not many people know about it. I've already fixed it up a bit. Thanks, Nin. We'll be there. I will pre-appre sleeping bags, nad candy bars. Well, it's better than nothing. It's way better than our old cabin. We get to hang out with Nin. The cabin is oh, my bike! No, I spent money on that bike. Oh, no. The cabin is a total loss, and so is your bike. Just because I punched some guy in the nose, I lose my home? I don't think that's fair. I think that's extreme escalation. After some negotiation, Lucinda picks you up in her minivan and ferries you to the Beninsky estate, which looks like a black ruin against the cloudy sky. The decline of Western civilization, Part 4, the Garu Nation, Podge mutters as he enters the key code for the door on a verdigris-encrusted brass plate. Despite his grumbling, the Arun fixed it up pretty well, even before he knew he'd have to live there. In addition to the old tower Nin set up for herself, ground floor, kitchen, bath, second floor, rec room, third floor, bedroom, storage, and the spire, the Arun has restored the second floor salon with its spacious, if cracked, windows where you can sleep, and a workshop down a servant's hallway, which connects to the garage and has its own bathroom. Podge immediately claims that whole neglected wing and starts setting up his computer equipment. What a king. What a king. Elton really comes through for your various icons and treasures. He has tons of old rites to find and recover lost talismans, talons, and idols connected to Garu ritual. It takes him less than a day to recover your modest collection. You are lucky. Well, I have to be lucky at some point. Everybody gets one. I'm not lucky in any other aspect of my life. Ridiculously, you have work tomorrow. Poor Sierra. That's the thing is, I can't I'm a werewolf. Sometimes I get mad. And you're telling me that sometimes when I get mad and I act rashly that bad things happen? That seems unfair. You do have enough clothes to go out in public, though, so after a long discussion about how much trouble you might be in, Elton decides that you should go to work, with Melody staking out Gorski Manor by pretending to be a visitor. 2 state police officers show up around 10:30 and your stomach falls out, but they just ask you questions about a patient who died last month. You direct them to Mr. Weiss, then lurk outside the door, but it's just a routine inquiry about where some of the dead patient's personal effects ended up. Nothing to do with you, even though you know Charlie the orderly's girlfriend stole the jewelry. After your shift, you treat Melody to a dinner of soup and sandwiches pilfered from the cafeteria. Only after you eat, as Melody scrolls her phone, do the two of you realize how much else has happened. She gives you the summary as you skim the group chat with growing alarm. Elton fired from his job at the bookstore, the Philodoc says. Oh no! Nin arrested! A hog-thrown show attacked by Nazis with sabers and steel masks. What the hell's happening? Lucinda, just because I punched some guy? Lucinda's arts and industry building purchased by an unknown developer and all tenants turned out. All within 48 hours while you and Nin followed Scarper's trail. They picked her up the very next morning when she went back to Langton. What the fuck? What? Nin arrested? We gotta bail her out before she changes in a jail cell and tears the veil. Yes, please. Also, just to get her out, because she does not deserve to be in a cage. She was born a wolf, and that seems especially cruel. Hobland already made sure she's okay, Melody says. Picked up on a bullshit loitering charge. She gave a false name and turned into a wolf. You know how small she is in lupus form. She just walked out. Melody links you to the relevant texts. It doesn't sound like anyone traced Nin back to the Beninsky estate. Other texts discuss the bookstore. Elton smuggled some occult tomes out of storage the night he was fired. The attack on Hogthrone, police raid, a few arrests, but everyone is fine. And Lucinda lost some art, but is safe in her apartment. I'm worried about our territory, Melody says. I'm going to spend some time in lupus form patrolling Nin's woods and Podge's slums to make sure no one tries moving in. Your thoughts turn to your investigation. After a long day getting settled into your new home, you consider what to try next. Whoopsie doopsie. Whoopsie doopsie. It'd be hard out here for a Garu. I already hung out with Podge. Hanging out with Podge and figuring out the pattern line business sounds fun. I do that. We already hung out with Podge, so let's just let's find the source of the Fomori. Yeah, the moth things, the moth creatures. Let's find out where they are. Melody is busy with family business, both the living and the dead, for several days. That's fine with you as you're busy getting moved into the new building. When you have a day off, you get a ride with Lucinda to Forbes' library to return some books Podge took out. Hanging around in the atrium, you try Melody again, expecting her to still be busy with the ghost of Malachi Palace, but she responds immediately. First things first, I have explored every inch of the wilderness around Esther's and gotten nowhere. And I checked some missing persons cases way out in East Longmeadow, but it didn't go anywhere interesting. I think our best bet is to check out these industrial jobs. Melody sends you an article on a missing person from last year. Tsering Regal of East Hampton, Massachusetts, disappeared around the same time you were at Hogthrone tracking down Nin. A Tibetan immigrant, he vanished on the way home from his night shift job as a die-cast operator at Acetone Industrial. Any follow-up stories? Nothing, and no follow-up from the police either. He didn't have family in the area, so just gone. Melody also sends you job postings for Acetone Industrial. Exactly what the company does or what sorts of jobs they're looking to fill aren't clear. Interesting and worth checking out. You're free next Monday, and Melody's job, guarding the sacred dead and restoring their barrows, offers flexible hours, so you agree to check the place out after the weekend. You get ready to leave the library and text Melody again, only to get back. Hey, it's Podge. On Melody's phone. Handling some OPSEC. Stay where you are. There in 30. And true to his word, Podge enters the library about half hour later. Show me your phone, he says. You hold it up. He grabs it. The Arun has fast hands. Oh my. And works some kind of gift. Hey, you say. You're about to object further when you feel spirits move through the umbra. You're reminded of your trip to Everlight HQ. Heat and pressure, a sound and smell like grinding steel. Okay, that's all of you, Podge says. We've had some spirits snooping around our chats. It was a huge fight to get Elton to hand his stuff over. He's starting to investigate Neo Albion, you know. We ran some leads down together, but it's not easy with that guy. I'm trying to act all casual, and Elton's like, "Excuse me, good sir, where might I partake of the Dunking Donuts?" Anyway, I had to do some serious haggling with Rat, but the cockroach and centipede spirits should keep us secure for a while. That's so nice of you. Let's be sad and see if he'll comfort us. Because we're toxic like that. We already lost our home. What's next? Yeah, I don't want Nin to lose her place because we're being hunted due to bad OPSEC, Podge says. But I think we're safe here, at least physically. No, look, I don't have any proof, but from the kind of intrusions I've seen, I think Miss Clea is too interested in us. Now, she's not our pack, and werewolves like to watch each other, that's fine. But these data intrusions are too aggressive. These cockroach spirits are strong, and they should keep us safe for a few weeks while I investigate more. Just be careful. I need to make sure Jane is okay. You feel a sudden sense of dislocation, like when you spoke with Catherine through the video recording at Gorski Manor. Who's Jane? I don't insert the Gandalf from Lord of the Rings meme here. I have no memory of this place. I don't know who Jane is. Her phone, Podge says. Jane Lucci's phone. Nin recovered it from one of her... Oh, no, I remember Jane now. No, I remember who it is. I remember. Never mind. Nin recovered it from one of her bandmates, and I just need to secure it. You gotta eat better. You look terrible. Despite this complication, you and Melody have made pretty extensive plans for this outing, and you make it clear that you both want to get moving. Yeah, I understand, Podge says. I'll deal with Jane's digital footprint while you work. Kill some monsters for me. Yeah. Jane was one of the ghosts people that we met in Melody's Barrows, who we had to have her stuff played at Hogthrone, and she had a bunch of stuff on her phone. That I remember. It's so cold that neither of you want to run in lupus form, especially all the way down the cold mountain where the Beninsky estate is located. So you and Melody take the bus to the rundown industrial part of East Hampton, where Acetone lists its address. The street has seen better days. It doesn't look or feel like anyone has maintained this road for years, and no one has been collecting the trash. Dumpsters overflow with black bags and mattresses. At least it's too cold to smell it. How are we approaching this? You ask the Philodox as she checks the infiltration gear in her backpack. She's almost completely hidden by a giant puffy green jacket, an orange scarf, and a hat with a pom-pom. I don't know about you, Sierra, Melody says, checking on her axe, but I'm going to ask for a job. Sure. So you're saying you like to watch Podge. Yes. Wait, could I do something around here other than fix a snowblower that runs for 100 yards and breaks again? I'm trying to be funny. No, of course not. You're part of America's permanently mistreated underclass, Melody says. But me, Sierra, I'm somebody. God loves me and I want to be happy and wants me to be happy. But I could actually work at this place, you say. Do you really want to work as a die caster or a receptionist? Of course not. My hands are far too soft. Melody takes off a mitten and to study her calloused palm. She's been slinging gravestones around a frozen swamp all week. But I'll tell you what, if I accidentally get a job, we'll just send you instead, wearing my scarf. Melody's such an icon. The bus crashes to a halt right next to Acetone. Melody's confident smile falters a little when the wind whips her scarf back the second she hits the pavement. The air stinks worse than a common industrial zone. You've been smelling that subtle reek for days, but it's especially strong here. Ignoring the stench, Melody pushes into Acetone's reception area, a cheap and unglamorous office dominated by a huge scheduling board. Gold and silver tinsel frames the door. A line of orange plastic chairs along one wall reminds you of waiting outside the principal's office in junior high school. Hold on, a woman's voice snaps from deeper inside the office. Melody waits for 5 seconds, then she leans close to you and says, "Are we always kept waiting like this?" Yeah, the air stinks worse than a common, and you've been smelling the subtle reek for days, but it's especially strong here. What is that? That stink just driving me crazy. Have you noticed it too? Can I help you two? The receptionist asks before Melody can answer you. Her lined face and old-fashioned updo makes her look 100 years old. She wears a cashmere sweater with a rose gold cross brooch. We're looking for work, the Philodox says, and we were told Acetone is hiring. I'm saying this wrong, aren't I? Acetone. I don't know. I'm saying it how I feel like saying it, because there's too many vowels. I don't approve. There's too many vowels in this one word. The secretary looks at you like you just shit on the floor. Do you have a resume? She asks. Is that how it's pronounced? Melody says. She looks at you as if you two should be surprised by this news. Incredible. Anyway, how is Polly? You mean Mr. Beninsky? The woman says, eyes narrowing. Yeah, get him for me, would you? Melody says, pocketing a business card and a pen and all the mints. I don't think... Actually, I'll just go see how he's doing, the Philodox says, her accent slowly thickening to match and then surpass the old New England inflections in the secretary's speech. You can't... Oh, I can do all sorts of things, Melody says, pocketing another pen. But you didn't answer my question. How is Polly? I'll get him for you, the secretary says, scowling. A moment later, an old man with a full head of wild white hair appears. His scowl is as ferocious as the secretary's. Hi, Polly. It's Mel, Melody says. I see you got that promotion. Oh my god, Melody? Mr. Beninsky says. I haven't seen you since the Kielbasa apocalypse. What is it, 4 years back? 5? Melody and Mr. Badinsky rapidly exchange points of Polish-American cultural activity, including their words for dumplings and their preferred historical dance styles. It's all incredibly uninteresting. Okay, we don't have to be a jerk about it. But after 30 seconds of backslapping camaraderie over their shared interest in jelly donuts, you realize that Melody has led both Acetone's shift manager and the secretary away into the depths of the facility. You are completely free to explore. Your phone buzzes. Find everything you can and meet me at the brewery next door at noon. Thanks, Melody. You're the best. Yeah, one of those words that made me glad I didn't have to read it out loud. I'm just saying it how I feel like it in the moment. It might change from moment to moment, but let's see how I do. Almost 3 hours to check this place out. The first thing you do is reach around. The first thing you do is reach around to the secretary's desk, grab a guest lanyard, and write Beth on it using the only pen Melody didn't take. Then you conduct an initial patrol. You mostly know how to work on small motors, not huge machines that look like the printing presses in old movies where a spinning newspaper advances the plot. Nonetheless, an initial investigation reveals nothing unusual. The cold chamber die casting you see here is for aluminum machine components that are, in turn, shipped all over the country. You spend 5 minutes chatting with a shift supervisor to learn destination points. It's mostly science supply companies, bicycle manufacturers, and the University of Massachusetts, or UMass, as we'd call it. You mention Everlight and a few other red flag companies, but the supervisor says Acetone doesn't do any business with them, and you're confident she isn't lying. You could try talking with the temp workers, but since you don't have any smokes to offer them, that would require both investigative skills and a certain comfort with the argot of the proletariat. For example, you probably shouldn't mention the argot of the proletariat around them. Don't go all Karl Marx on them, okay? You could go in the other direction and speak to the ship supervisor directly under Mr. Baninsky in the org chart, but you couldn't do that as a mere guest with a plastic lanyard. You'd have to misrepresent yourself as a health and safety inspector, and lying is risky. Isn't it always for me, because I have no dots and I have like 1 dot in charisma and 2 dots in manipulation? You spend a few minutes in the parking lot circling the facility and looking for anything unusual. Trucks are constantly entering and leaving the loading bays. You could investigate their comings and goings, but you'd be out in the cold for 3 hours, hardly pleasant. Or you could grab a hard hat and seriously inspect the machinery for anything strange there. I will endure the cold to investigate the trucks coming and going, because that seems like the thing I can fuck up the least out of all the things that were listed. Watch me fuck it up. It's my specialty. Acetone is busy for such a small processing facility, with trucks arriving or leaving every 20 minutes or so. You learn that by standing in the bitter cold for 20 minutes. You make yourself walk back and forth in the parking lot so you don't freeze, stopping only when a truck arrives, which is about every half hour. You memorize everything you can about it, though it's so cold that your attempts to take notes are nearly hopeless. You manage to write down a few scheduled notes before your hands cramp up. 2 hours? Why was I out there for 2 hours? Why? After 2 hours, you've gone so numb that you have to go inside. You stamp your feet and try to warm up while studying the arrival and departure whiteboard. You can barely focus on it, but you do notice that deliveries to Esterbrook have all been canceled. Esterbrook? There's a map of the region in the break room. It's old because most routing is done online now, but you hurry there and check the map on the wall against the crossed-off destination. The map shows a modest run of machine shops and light manufacturing companies near Esther's restaurant, which you're starting to think wasn't named after a woman because Esterbrook is visible on the map. Other crossed-off companies are clustered around the reservoir a few miles away. Are they connected? Is that anything? Should you investigate that part of Whately again? That's starting to feel like a lead, but you need more information. Well, maybe we don't spend 2 hours watching trucks. Why 2 hours? Watch me fuck it up. But it seems like your wretched state has drawn the attention of security. You spot a loader looking for you, trailed by a heavy-set man who looks like he'd love to kick someone's ass. You can't stay here, and though you feel shaky from the cold, you're well enough to move. You hurry away before there's a confrontation that won't do you any good. Your phone shows an arts and industry building a block away, so you walk there to stay warm and spend the next hour looking at paintings you can't afford. What an excellent use of my time. You keep going over everything you saw, and no, you don't think anything rotten is going on at Acetone. Elton texts you. Anything? As Acetone. At. Might be a dead end. Um, but I might be able to get a better job. I hope that something works out. I'm in the middle of investigating Huvud. Huvud. I'm going to check out a construction. I swear, Kyle put the most difficult words in here for me, to bully me personally. Just joking. I'm going to check out a construction site. Try not to make a public-facing mess. When have I ever done that, Elton? When have I ever done that? How bad am I injured? Oh, I'm okay. I'm injured. I shift and regenerate fully, though I'll lose the wolf. Or I don't do that. Or I don't. So I got a bullet in me. So what? I kind of like it. Every time I think of doing something stupid, I could just poke my bullet wound and then reconsider. Melody is waiting for you at the brewery not far from Acetone. She's already procured a booth and ordered herself a Kir Pamplemousse. God, she loves that thing, whatever the hell that is. And a charcuterie plate. You managed to swipe. It's a drink, right? I have no idea. I'm so uncalled. Hi, I'm Huddy, I'm white trash. You managed to swipe a few crullers from the Acetone break room, but this repast is a step up from old pastries. You eat a piece of brie before you even sit down. There's some sort of event going on, a late holiday party or something, Melody says, gesturing to a few dozen people in the adjoining room. So I'm just putting everything on their tab. I'm sure they'll understand. What did you learn? Nothing. Does Polly... just ignore that question because I learned nothing. Polly know who we are and what we do? Should we bring him in on this? No, Melody says, shaking her head and letting her hair pool around her shoulders. The Badinskis are one of the three families, yes, but they're also a huge clan. Only a few of them were connected to the Garu. But the families are all tangled up by marriage and finances even after everything that happened, so I can squeeze out the occasional favor. But I don't think it did us any good unless you found something out. You shake your head. Yeah, whenever we've made a mess, totally didn't punch a guy leading to a shootout in our house blowing up. No, Jerry, that is never... Why would you even... That's a fairy tale. Why would you make up such a thing? Yeah, this is a dead end, Melody says, popping some bread into her mouth. Polly told me everything he could about Tsering. Bupkis. He used to handle the, what did he call them, Brookside and Reservoir orders. But I checked, and there are a dozen old industrial sites that have closed down or are starting to close down. She sighs. I think we might have to check every one. God, it's gonna take weeks. Brookside, you ask, like Esther's Brook? Esther's what? You fill Melody in on your discovery, and her green eyes slowly widen as she studies her phone's map program. Here's Esther's Brook, the Philodox says, retracing your own mental process. And here's Broadbrook. I think they connect. But if you can't explore a dozen industrial sites in a reasonable time frame, how can you explore miles of underwater river? But then Melody laughs. Oh, the reservoir orders, she laughs. That's what Polly was talking about. She shows you her phone. Exactly between Esther's Brook and Broadbrook, the Mountain Street Reservoir. He kept talking about how weird and hostile the Mountain Street Reservoir people got when they began their expansion project, Melody says. I don't know what's there, but we have to check it out. I'm worried about making a mess because Elton totally told me not to make one again because I fucked everything up for them. For me and for everyone. I'm worried about making a mess. If there's a fight, what about regular people? Should we punch them in the nose? Is that the appropriate response? I suppose they'll be ripped to bloody shreds, Melody says, demonstrating what will happen to them by pulling apart a sourdough roll. No, seriously, Sierra, I'm a professional. If it's some kind of worm-adjacent facility, we'll just scout, and if it's a straight-up monster factory, well, everyone there is bad. That's an easy answer, you say. Well, as you can imagine, I try not to act like my enemies are ontologically evil and everything I do to them is a priori justified, Melody says. Stop using your $10 Latin words at me, Melody, trying to dust all the crumbs off her chest. But on the other hand, sometimes people get in the way with guns and I need to make them go away. It's an ugly business we're in, Sierra. Maybe you shouldn't run away from your cabin when there are cops with guns pointed at you. Maybe you should turn into a giant werewolf and murder them all. You dumb, stupid idiot. Further online research reveals almost nothing except the name Mountain Street Scientific, associated with a public-private partnership at the reservoir. You both finish your lunch and then slip out before anyone wonders how you're connected to the meetup in the other room. The weather hasn't improved, but you still have 4 or 5 hours of daylight, and the reservoir isn't far. You take the bus north and bag your gear in the empty janitor's closet of a low-rise apartment complex. Sorry, my allergies. And shift into your lupus form as Melody stands guard. The two of you then race west into the woods, heading for the reservoir. It's midday, so it's plenty warm for wolves, especially when you're running. The only problem is changing back. You end up wedged between 2 boulders where the wind doesn't blow. You and Melody manage to scramble into your cheap thermals before the steam from your metamorphosis entirely dissipates. The reservoir... I can talk. The reservoir is a lake surrounded by evergreen trees on 3 sides and a water treatment facility on the hill to the west. The dam is on the south shore. You follow the obvious signs of recent development. Overturned trees around a fresh paved road that leads through what ought to be a conservation area. You and Melody follow the new road until you reach a hastily erected fence topped with concertina wire. You've already passed and ignored multiple no trespassing signs. More cover the fence. It looks like someone half constructed a guard room for the gate, but it's unfinished and empty. Cameras watch the main entrance, and there's a bright blue call button. Through the gate, you see a huge parking lot, mostly empty. A low, squat building is visible on the far side of the parking lot. The building is made of yellow bricks and in vaguely Art Deco style. This is it, Melody says. Should we pretend to be interested in work? Like, rather than making a mess right away, we bluff our way in? Please, dear God, I'm so paranoid. I'm feeling so guilty and paranoid about what happened. What if they search our bags? Melody says. For example, yours has a machete in it. Or make us do a drug test. I ate a sesame bagel this morning. I ate a poppy seed muffin this morning. You wonder whether to mention Elton's text. Melody reads your expression and laughs, her breath steaming. Elton bugged you too, huh? The Philodox says. He's always got an excuse for not solving a problem. Like how he left Nin and me to rot for 3 years while a teenage bone gnawer tried to keep fighting. Elton just doesn't like it when we do anything. I think the only choice here is who tears through the gate. Brr. Why don't you get us through the fence away from the cameras? We'll go in, but not like idiots. Dear. There are going to be more cameras inside, you know, Melody says, walking laterally away from the main gate. And I think this is this gate electrified? She grabs it. Nope. There does appear to be wiring that may tell technicians inside if the fence is compromised, but before you can mention that to Melody, she saws through the chain link fence with her axe. That thing is frighteningly sharp, with an edge like one of David Beninsky's weapons, despite being an antique. You go through first, and the two of you approach the building through the mostly empty parking lot, scanning for cameras and entrances. Quiet so far, Melody says. That's nice of them. The Philodox stays low through the parking lot, but you don't think she really cares about staying hidden. When she reaches a side door, she spots a little golf ball-sized camera above the door and swats it away like a gnat. You pick it up when she finishes bouncing around. This is the same model of camera as the one at Gorski Manor in Terry Klein's room. Terry Klein! That was the dude. That was the dude who got murdered. Who got murdigated. You examine the door's combination lock, nod with satisfaction because you know how to defeat it, and reach for your mini crowbar. That's when Melody smacks the doorknob off with her axe. Oh right, she has an axe. Yes, we just watched her cut through the fence, remember? Please, dear God. Sierra, please. Stay on task. Remember things. I'm gonna stay behind Melody because she seems to be much more adept at with her axe than I am with my machete, if history is an indicator of anything. You follow the Philodox into a half-finished hallway with a hastily laid carpet and bare walls of corrugated metal. Melody shifts into her glabro form and pads towards a T-shaped intersection while you cautiously check doors. There's not much interesting behind the doors, small offices and storage rooms, half of them empty, the other half stuffed with unsorted plastic crates. All signs point to this place being brand new. The Philodox takes a right at the T-shaped intersection, then stops at the next turn, head cocked. What? You whisper. You're next to the frosted glass blocks that separate the hallway from the restroom, and you angle your machete in case someone comes out, but you don't think it's occupied. Not sure, she says. A mechanical sound. Hold on. She steps around the corner and catches a shotgun blast to the chest. You frantically wipe blood out of your eyes, so when you can see again, you see more blood. Melodies blasted all over the glass cube wall and along the carpet. The shotgun shell blew the far door off its hinges, revealing a file room. Shredded papers float through the air and stick to the bloody carpet. Another shotgun blast sets your ears ringing, but Melody has crawled back around the corner, clutching her mangled guts with both hands. She tries to retrieve her axe, but a third blast rips through a tile and forces her to yank her hand back. Ow, you asshole! She chokes, blood running down her chin. You just saw someone and pulled the trigger? What the fuck? Step out with your hands above your head, a shaky voice says. Enough sneaking around, Melody grumbles as her stomach boils and starts to heal. Fuck. A shotgun blast in the chest. It's fine, I'm okay. Wow, recklessly attacking wouldn't work out. Alright, well, kill the armed guards, but let regular people go. I get ready to attack. Yep. I'm still in my human form. I just remembered just now. Oh god. Take my axe and find the Fomori, Melody says. I have work. The rest of her sentence becomes a snarl, and when you look her way, she's shifted into her hulking Krynos form. She nods to you snarling, then darts around the corner and hurls herself at the guards. Gunshot screams and the wet slap of flesh hitting walls and ceilings. Your hand snaps out and you grab Melody's axe. Then you spare a glance around the corner and see the Philodox engaged with 4 or 5 shrieking shooting guards. She has the situation under control and she's freed you up to find whatever is going on here. Except for the area around the front door, the only place you haven't explored is just past where Melody is conducting her business. Once the Philodox forces the guards back, you slip around the corner and approach. Ah, here it is. A Class 1 vault door, solid steel, flush with the brick wall, but its digital readout is dark. You backtrack because you saw another door with a digital readout on your way here. It's also dark. It looks like the whole facility is on lockdown. There's no way you're getting through that door, but you see ductwork all around the room behind the vault. An industrial cooling system, maybe. Yes, I need to regenerate because things are going to get nasty. Yeah, I'll have to risk it for the biscuit. I'll have to lose my wolf because if I get shot with a shotgun, I'm going to die. Yep. I'm spiritually diminished. This is fine. This is fine. This is good. This is fine. I can't pick a vault door, but are there any other doors I can pick? I'm not going to check my lockpicking because I don't want to know. It's probably awful. You confirm the position of your lockpick gun in your I have a lockpick gun in your leather jacket and check some of the nearby doors, but no other doors lead to the place you want to go, and you don't have time to pop locks and look around. And as to getting through that vault door, you know exactly how much of a burn time you'd need to melt through the lock. And that's not happening for several reasons. Another gunshot and shrieking from somewhere down the hall. You need to hurry. This is good. I checked the industrial machinery around the door. Is there anything I can use to get inside? Oh god. There's a duct visible through the cheap drop ceiling that's easy to follow. It leads you to a barely furnished break room, like a bleak echo of the one at Acetone, with an open archway that leads into a kind of electrician's closet that stretches around the room the vault must lead to. A clever wolf could, that's not me, could follow that cooling duct to the rear entrance of the room you want to access, and given the unfinished nature of this building, you think it might be accessible from here. Okay, I'm not clever, but let's try. Let's pretend. Let's play make-believe. I follow the duct into the darkness of the electrician's closet, looking for a way into the room behind the vault door. Whoopsies, here we go. Even in this brand new facility, the pipes and tubes are a snarled tangle of multicolored PVC. You turn on your phone's flashlight and follow one particular tube, which emerges from just above the vault door and winds its way all the way past the break room and into the access tunnels. You return to the following tube. It disappears a few times, but you always pick it up again until, after 3 turns and 1 backtrack, you reach a dead end with a bright yellow no access sign and a plastic box hastily pushed in front of a metal grill. You can see dim red lights through the grill, and you're sure that you're looking at the room beyond the vault door. A neglected toolbox provides you with the screwdriver you need to open the vent. You crawl through and look around. This is it. Oh my god, you guys. Oh my god, you guys. Melody's out there fighting guards with guns, bullets, and being a badass, and I'm crawling around in a vent trying to find a room. This is great. This is exactly how it should go. Tower computers everywhere, heaped on top of each other, buzzing and blinking, a Stonehenge of cheap hot plastic filling the air with staticky dust. So many industrial fans that it's hard to hear. Drop floor, drop ceilings, unfinished walls. A metal shelf with a locked grill, behind which you can see handwritten notes. Their dates stretch back to the 80s, though the shelf is brand new like everything else here. More fans, cheap plastic ones you can buy at Walmart, blow the air away from the vault door towards a second room partitioned from this one by a dingy plastic door curtain that stinks of dried blood. The vault door bangs. A tablet hung from a peg in the unfinished wall shows 2 camera views outside of Melody in her Krynos form. Both hands are black with blood. She leans against the vault door, rage bleeding away as her bullet-riddled flesh heals. You don't see any living personnel, so you find the manual door control marked out by an index card that reads "in case of fire" and crank it open. An exhausted and naked woman stumbles inside. Clumps of blood cling to her curly auburn hair. Oh dear. She slides down the wall. Bullets clatter onto the drop floor tiles as she finishes healing. You push the vault door closed and it seals with a hollow bang. Kids were super into creepypasta when I was in high school, the fellow docs mutters. But the real creepypasta, Sierra, is seeing your own intestines. That's the real... Oh, Jesus. Take my leather jacket. I don't know why. Why? How does this help? How does this help her? Nothing of what I will say will help her. Take my leather jacket for some reason. Oh, no, don't worry about it, Melody says. I have my... What happened to my backpack? I packed it so carefully, damn it. You get her into your... Nun? You get her into your nun. What? Which gives her time to recover enough to reclaim her axe and approach the plastic door curtain that divides the rooms. The fellow docs leaves bloody footprints as she approaches the door curtain with her axe. Melody pushes the curtain aside, then stumbles back, retching. Okay, your turn, she mumbles, eyes watering. The air feels slimy as you approach, not dry and cool like it should. Perspiration beads the plastic divider. Irregular black splotches stain its transparent surface, more like black mold than arcs of dried blood. You push the curtain aside with your axe, breathing shallowly so you don't choke, and descend the steps. Your eyes adjust slowly to the high-ceiling chamber. You try not to take in the operating room all at once. Your eyes instead fall on an open laptop on an unexpectedly tasteful Art Deco shelving unit. Part of the screen shows more detailed architectural and technical plans for this facility, including data on the cooling system. There's also an intriguing program running called Water Pressure Regulation. A smaller window shows Google alerts, various names plus missing plus related searches. There's Tsering Regal. Your name is there too, Sierra September, not your birth name. None of the other Garu have their names listed, just you. Oh my god, I'm so special. Someone loves me. The smell turns your stomach, and as Melody cautiously approaches, you keep moving. It feels like you're pushing through another tarp, but there's nothing in front of you. Oh no. Then you slowly look up at the woman bolted to the wall. Moth wings brush across your face. Help! I don't have any rage. Young, late teens or early 20s, white as far as you can tell despite the, that's a word, Lepidoptera crawling over her mutilated face. Hey Megan, Melody says, does this one have a name? Sierra, you say, checking the laptop. This is weird. Same fake last name as mine, September. Probably a drifter or something, Melody says. What? What is happening? What is happening? Your breath steams. You have run for hours. You don't feel what this exchange. You don't feel tired. You haven't really felt tired since the change. Snow swirls, bitterly cold, lake effect snow that stings your eyes. The sky and ground are white. The trees across the empty meadow, black where frost doesn't hang from their branches. Only one thing moves close to the tree line, your prey. You're downwind of it, though not for long, as unpredictable gusts and snow devils racing across the open terrain. And you could smell the acrid reek of steel and plastic. Your prey is close, and you know you have to prove yourself this time. You have come to this wasteland to hunt. The horse thing is hot between your legs. Is that a euphemism of some kind? The lance, the signaling device, cold in your hands despite the gloves you wear. Then you see her picking her way along the side of the road. You confirm her appearance and caress the tumorous mass along your mount's neck, then kick it up to a canter. Your prey doesn't have a chance. Sierra, you whisper. Sierra, you're going to be like me soon. Here, take my error. Outfit not found. Whoops. Yeah, I know we're in the what the fuck arc. I know, but it's still what the fuck. Sierra, Sierra. Melody's hair in a halo around your head, cool tiles against your back. Melody is shaking you. She stops when she realizes you've regained consciousness. She moves back, revealing a familiar drop ceiling, and against the wall, a young black man strapped to the wall, slit open face covered in moths. What happened? The Philodox asks. Twice now, I've suffered from peculiar spiritual dislocations. I'm starting to worry, Melody. Please, dear God, help. You tell her what Catherine told you through the video screen at Gorski Manor. It's hard, Melody says, helping you rise. It's hard to know when it's just something wrong with your brain and when it's something wrong with the world. The Philodox reaches for the elastic strap on her thigh that holds her cell phone and sweeps its light over the mutilated man's face. Not Tsering, she says. Someone else. Tsering has probably been dead for weeks. That's comforting. The peeled skin resembles a moth. There seems to be more flesh and skin pinned to the rough wooden wall than a person should have. Though the flesh isn't burned, the air smells like roasted meat, a familiar barbecued pig reek. When Melody steps back, you realize that most of this wall isn't brick. It's plates of reinforced glass. Behind it, the reservoir, cold black water. Cooling pipes stretch out of the wall above the shelving unit with the laptop on it. You see dozens of handwritten notebooks going back decades behind the shelving unit's locked cabinet. You recognize the notebooks immediately. They're the same as the notebook you retrieved from Scarper's cabin at Pine Island Lake, Resurrectionism 412. Same faux leather, same handwriting along the spine. I think they're using the water to provide cooling for whatever they're doing here, Melody says, following the cooling pipes with her eyes. Like, what if creating these Fomori gives off a lot of heat? Does that laptop say water pressure regulation? I wonder if we can mess around with that and make a real mess. Her face is pale, her hair plastered to her cheeks with sweat despite the cold air in this room. At least your wounds have healed, though you feel clammy too. We have to destroy this place, Sierra. She's digging around in a shadowed corner as she talks. She hefts her axe. In her glabro form, Melody can use it to break through a wall. This whole place needs to burn! Or flood, Melody says. I mean, the water is right here, and 2 werewolves can definitely tear down this glass wall. You're not so blinded by rage that you can't think practically, and Melody reads your I don't want to drown expression. A few cracks in the corner, she says, examining the cooling pipes that run through the room. Don't need the big calc to figure out what happens a few minutes later. We'll be out before the wall blows. You study the brick altar or whatever it is. Maybe this is where people are transformed. The smell is ghastly. Wet ashes and open wounds. You're about to ask Melody if she's ever seen anything like it when she screams. The mutilated man's bloodshot eyes stare at Melody, then at you. He turns his head, ripping more skin from his flayed cheeks. Oh, God. His lips move as the dark water behind him churns, but you can't hear what he is saying. He licks bloody lips with a cracked tongue and tries again. There are so many worlds, but we'd ruin every one. The water churns. When it hits the glass, the room shakes and the flayed man screams and splits open. Claws burst forth from his chest, claws you've seen before. Then a writhing face like a broken shell pushes through, and then the entire moth Fomor slithers into the world. It floats through the empty air like a dead fish, and Melody moves to kill it before it can orient itself. But the man on the wall peels apart, and more Fomori push through it, moving in the strangely synchronized fashion you remember from Esther's restaurant. One orients itself more quickly than the others and rises up like a giant fist, then comes down on you, forcing you to leap backwards. You collide with the locked shelf full of notebooks. The laptop on the shelf clatters to the ground as more Fomori materialize until you're almost swimming in them. Awesome! Awesome! We need... I want to be a big werewolf, but I can't because I'm not angry enough at seeing that display. We need to bring the wall down, I shout to Melody. How can I help her damage the glass in my weak, puny little Homid form? Thank you for the subscription, Apostate Mage. She nods and darts for the wall with her axe, but 2 Fomori force her to retreat. There's a lot of mechanical cooling equipment around the wall, though. Maybe you could encourage Melody to smash smarter, not harder. And after her rampage through the facility, she's too exhausted to take on Krynos form again. Melody tries to fight towards the glass wall to strike it with her axe, but 3 more Fomori hurl her back. In seconds, they're everywhere, whole or in fast-dying fragments. They cling to the roof, half hidden in the shadows of the dim, high-ceiling chamber, keeping out of reach. Their synchronized movements are more obvious now than at Esther's, but you still don't know what that means. I can't shift into nothing. Melody, cover me. No. God, I'm useless. Why does anyone take me anywhere? Okay. I jump onto the shelving unit so I can reach the Fomori and nimbly slice them out of the air with my axe. That seems like a thing that Sierra could do, right? Totally. Like, real precision, real careful, real confident. Yep. That's Sierra to a T. The Fomori are quick, but you're quicker. Lies. You leap onto the shelf and drive your axe up into the nearest Fomor. It pitches sideways and crashes onto the floor. The others try to swarm you, but you widen your stance and sweep your blade back and forth. I have a machete, I thought, not an axe, but okay. Slicing off wings and cracking carapaces. Melody stands below you, smashing any Fomori that try to flank you. In seconds, a half-dozen lay around the Art Deco shelf in twisted, twitching heaps. Fomori drop down on Melody as she fights towards the glass, forcing her to retreat again. She snarls in irritation. Right with you, babe. Ooh, yeah. Alright, alright, alright. I lead Melody against the Fomori, thinking tactically so she doesn't get outflanked. Sure, why not? Melody is exhausted from her earlier rampage, and you know you'll have to fight smart. You wave her back and let the monsters charge you. If they had any brains, they'd stick to the ceilings and drop down from behind. Instead, when you and Melody give way, they rush between the Art Deco shelving unit and an autopsy table bolted to the floor, trapping themselves as Melody smashes them down one at a time. She flags only once, and you rush in and stab one in the eye, and then she goes back to smashing. In seconds, half of them are dead or dying on the floor or splashed against the walls, partially crushed and twitching pitifully. We're doing it! We're doing it! Melody hurls herself at a knot of Fomori with a cry of frustration, braining the nearest monster and forcing the others to retreat, though they scratch her bare legs. That's right, she's just in Glabro form. How am I still alive? Stumbling from the pain, the Philodox nonetheless brings her gore-streaked axe down on the glass wall. The weapon leaves only a small crack, but a second later, with a sound like a gunshot, cracks explode across the entire wall, which buckles inward. Time to go, Melody, you shout. Good idea, she gasps, following you up the steps, leaving a trail of bloody footprints. God, poor Melody. A wounded Fomor drops off the ceiling, but you drop and maim the thing, and but you drop and the maimed thing misses you by a yard. Before it can rise, you throw open the vault door. Then it's a short run through the dark corridors to the building's rear entrance. Christ. No Krynos for me. No, I don't have any rage because I decided to heal myself like an idiot. So Sierra did a thing right? I mean, statistically, I have to at least do one thing right every once in a while. That's just statistics, baby. There's lies, and then there's damn lies, and then there's statistics. Who said that? Mark Twain? That's wrong. It's not Mark Twain. It's some author. It's not Mark Twain. I'm wrong about that. I'm so wrong about that. Oh, God. Blinding light and freezing cold assail you in the huge parking lot. You hear gunshots from the front entrance, the 3-rattle clatter of Neo Albion's old-fashioned M16s. Someone has already driven right through the gate, flattening it. A car races past and almost hits Melody as it accelerates towards the fallen gate. A woman in a black pantsuit, too tight for the weather, without a jacket, is fumbling to open the door of her crossover. Hey, excuse me, Melody says, her voice thin. When the woman turns, Melody taps her in the skull with her axe, killing her instantly. Christ. She falls, legs kicking with a reflex action. The Philodox rolls the spasming corpse over and retrieves the key fob from under the body. We can't let Neo Albion find us, Melody whispers. Get into the passenger seat. Whatever you say, Mama. I'm not gonna... You just bodied some random. I'm not gonna say anything against it. You help the exhausted Philodox into the crossover, then hurry around the front of the vehicle and slide in across from her. The electric engine starts with barely a sound. Melody tosses her axe into the back. Turn on the Melody manages to say as she adjusts the rearview mirror. I should probably drive. Her eyes glassy, her hair spilling onto your backrest. You turn on the heat, then find the seat warming controls and turn everything all the way up. That's when an SUV smashes into the car parked next to you. The SUV backs up, then misses the back of your crossover by inches as it flies across the parking lot and out over the ruined gate with a sickening screech of metal. Then M16 fire erupts from near the front of the building. It slows. The driver has probably been shot. The gunfire dies down after a second. But waiting won't make escape easier, so Melody guns the crossover. It burns rubber and screams past the SUV, drawing only a few bursts. You never get close enough for Neo Albion to use their shotguns. Though not an experienced driver, Melody still manages to crunch over the fallen gate and bounce onto the main road. You risk a glance back and see Neo Albion's militarized SUV surrounded by a dozen armored soldiers. The road curves and they disappear. Christ. So lots of dead people back there. That can't be good. As Nin likes to say, there's always more people, Sierra, Melody says. Well, that's technically true. Morally, I'm not sure how I feel about that statement. Then she pulls over and bounces off the road shoulder as an ambulance screams past. It was sloppy, you say. Turning people into moth monsters is sloppy, Melody says. God told me to tear them up. And that's what I did, and I'll do it again. Okay. The crossover crunches over icy gravel as Melody gets back underway. The heat finally kicks... Well, if God told you to do it. Get out of here before my dog tells me to shoot the president. The heat finally kicks in and you collapse back into your Hobbit form feeling shaky. You know a few people who would be able to dispose of a stolen vehicle and even pay you a few $100s for the privilege, but you don't want anyone like that connecting you and Melody to the dam attack. Once the Philodox pulls over and gets her nerves under control, the drive was more stressful than the carnage of the Fomor battle. She steers the crossover towards Hoblin's compound. The setting sun turns the dead trees red-black as you roll through the woods down a dirt road. Hoblin picks you up on the cameras and is waiting with long johns and old boots. I love Hoblin. He's amazing. Once you're warming up in front of the wood stove, Hoblin listens to Melody's recounting of your adventures and promises to deal with the crossover. The good news is that Janet Fontaine, the owner, is too dead to press her claim on the vehicle, so Hoblin should be able to sell it. Well, there's always a silver lining for a silver fang, isn't there? What day is it? You ask Melody. You've done what you can, you're exhausted, and you're pretty sure you have to work in a few hours. Hoblin takes you back to the old Beninsky place. Your other allies didn't just sit around while you and Melody investigated the Nightmare Factory hidden at the Mountain Street Reservoir. Elton scouted the... Well, I'm glad. They shouldn't. Elton scouted the construction site in East Hampton where Neo Albion is working with the cult of Fenris to build a settlement. He mentions major concerns about the mix of Weaver and Worm spirits at the site. And while Elton scouted the construction site, Podge traced the pattern line back to a hidden server site in East Hampton. Before its self-destruction, he was able to extract data from the server about how Eater of Names transferred his intelligence, his soul, if you're feeling mystical, back into a living body from its hidden location in the Umbra. You learn all of this in person as people drop by the Beninsky estate or appear at Gorski Manor, as Podge has encouraged everyone to stay off their electronic devices as he works more gifts on your equipment. He's also bolstered security at your new place by adding a more extensive camera network to the keycard locks. The Arun drops by Gorski Manor to tell you about a meeting at Elton's flat tomorrow. He wants everyone to stay off their phones. He plans to relay instructions to everyone the old-fashioned way since he's currently fixing up a new truck. It's the same sort of old light pickup truck he used to drive, except a dull maroon instead of white and blue. And it's a Ford this time, built Ford tough. You think the old one was a Toyota. Why doesn't anyone have mind speak? Yeah, after losing the cabin, my main concern is physical security. How can we defend this new place? Because I'm bad at it, obviously. The Beninsky estate is a rambling, falling down Victorian monstrosity, and while Podge secured the central tower where the three of you live and have food and heat, Black Spiral dancers could hide a whole worm-tainted strike force in the East Wing and you'd never know. You spend the morning with a flashlight and a notebook figuring out every place that needs to be boarded up or otherwise secured. You start from the inside, moving cautiously through ruined rooms cluttered with once grand furniture, now so rancid you can't you can't even give it away. Then you circle the building perimeter before you start wandering the cold, muddy gardens out to the rusted wrought iron gate. Remember when we had our own cabin, everyone? I remember. You only have a few hours before you have to go to work, but you quickly generate a list of major security problems, specifically the unlocked doors and unboarded windows. You'll need to review all of this with Podge and Nin later this evening, maybe loop Hobland in, then you can start working together to secure the estate from the outside in. Oh, goody. It's a bad day at Gorski Manor. Is it ever a good day? A cleaning supply vendor cancels an order, which throws the kitchen into disarray. Then a bakery down the street that supplies bread is abruptly and permanently shuttered for unspecified health code violations. A drifter gets into the Alzheimer's ward and stabs a patient to death. What the hell's going on in this place? Cuts up Charlie the orderly pretty bad, then flees before anyone can stop him. The police who show up aren't the usual cops that Mr. Weiss keeps well paid and compliant. These are state police, belligerent and demanding. An hour later, ICE shows up. Why? And an hour later, you and Mr. Weiss are the only workers who haven't fled. You wonder how your state ID will hold up, but they don't question you. You can't hear everything that goes on in Mr. Weiss's office, but ICE eventually leaves after arresting a Dominican kitchen worker. Jesus. This is awful. You feel forces moving against you, claws blindly reaching, grabbing whatever they can, crushing whatever they touch. An NPD cruiser follows you at a crawl for half a block. You recognize the mustachioed men inside, Hasselman and Hoop. Ugh, then I never took Daphne up on her offer to pay off the cops, and I won't. Then they light up and take off, screaming down the street after some other problem. The temperature rises as you walk to Elton's flat, so it's just warm enough for a freezing rain to fall. You arrive drenched and miserable, climb the narrow steps to the upstairs door, and knock. You're the last to arrive. The flat looks even more desolate than the last time you visited, though better defended. Elton has installed more locks on the doors and a security system on the windows, and you feel a flicker of spirit energy as you step under the non-omnis scientia latificat device. Yep, that one. Umbral Guardians monitoring the building for threats. You peel off your freezing leather boots and drop into the armchair in front of the roaring fire. Both feel like old companions now, though it's strange to look at Catherine's portrait and see nothing else around it. The books on the mantle are all gone, replaced by two cats. Live cats, not statues. Clorinda and Sibby used to be the bookstore cats. Apparently they quit when Elton was fired. I love that. They seem unfazed by the presence of so many werewolves, and you're sure they know what you are. Cats always know. Speaking of cats, I miss Stormcat. Where's she be at? I miss her. Babe, come back to me. The old upright piano is still there. Elton and Nin are playing the easier parts of a Rachmaninoff concerto together. Podge is hypnotized by the music, but Melody gets you a burrito and a mug of hot spiced wine like you're a wizard in a fantasy novel. It's pretty good. Excuse me, hot spiced wine, or Glühwein here in Germany, is very common in the wintertime. It's it's not fantasy, it's delicious. But I assume to Americans it's not super common. I actually don't really remember. It's been too long since I've lived in the United States. So that settles it, the Theurge says, after he finishes the song and looks you up and down. We've all had that kind of day. The other Garu, scattered around a chamber that now booms hollowly with every shift of weight or scrape of furniture, moan in agreement as you eat your lukewarm burrito. Delicious. As I said earlier, Elton says, the construction site is intended as a long-term settlement for humans ideologically compatible with the cult of Fenris. People are already starting to move in. Those kinds of people are dangerous to all the other kinds of people. We need to do something, but what? Kill Heinrich, Nin says. The usually placid child of Gaia has run out of patience with Fenris. We need to talk more about the cult of Fenris and Neo-Albion later, but Melody, what about the Fomori you and Sierra investigated? Melody nods and says, Mountain Street Scientific killed a lot of people. I retrieved some names, Tsering Regal, plus some others I'll send you, because we might be able to close some missing persons cases. As far as I can gather, Mountain Street Scientific was using people as food. I don't think we killed all of the moths, Melody says. Still, the Mountain Street factory is underwater. They won't be conjuring any more monsters there, or murdering anyone else. Don't touch me, you disgusting creature. I'm not touching you, Podge says. I'm all the way over here. I'm talking to this cat. Go away. Tsibi seems to have taken a liking to Melody and is trying to climb onto her lap. The Philodox is having none of it. How can you not like cats? Because you're a dog. I get it. I get it. Sierra's no good, very bad day. I know. Nin's the best. I think Nin's the smartest one of all of us. Definitely smarter than Sierra. We're going to need to get rid of every last moth monster. Yeah, because they're terrifying and disgusting, and I hate them, and I'll have nightmares about them. And then kill the Banes that create them. You and Melody destroyed one of their spawning grounds, I assume, Elton says, but there might be others. We need to learn more about the moth Fomori before we can launch an all-out attack. What about Scarpa? Give me a minute. I'm almost ready, Nin says, her fingers bouncing on the piano. I'm trying to set the spirits of the Order of the Invisible World to a possibly recognizable tune. No filk, Nin, get on with it, Elton says. Nin grudgingly pulls herself away from the Schimmel upright as you fill the others in on Scarper's false hope that he could surgically excise Eater of Names from his flesh. Elton has since cleaned and analyzed the surgical tools you recovered from the cabin. These are from a now defunct Atlanta metalworking company that, I have confirmed, also worked on the GRC Media building. There must be more notebooks he wrote that we can find. Eater of Names was obviously prolific and thoughtful, Elton says, nodding. Yeah, because we found, like, another thing he was writing in, like, a laptop. We all need to be on the lookout for more books like this. Damn it, Melody says. What? The Theurge asks. I think I actually saw notebooks like this, with the tape on the spines and the Sharpie dates and subjects locked up in Mountain Street Scientific, Melody says, but I was too busy fighting Fomori to grab them. They're underwater now, sorry. Can I talk next? Podge says, I love talking. By all means, Elton says from the kitchen, where Clorinda is watching him make coffee and trying to stick her head in the cream jar. So I followed a digital trail from Esta's restaurant down to this server room abandoned in the woods of East Hampton. I figured it was almost abandoned, getting ready to shut down, because the pattern line, the actual data line in the Umbra that started at Everlight, that crumbled the moment Eater of Names came back. But now I'm not so sure, because that server room I thought was in the middle of nowhere. Elton, it's like 500 feet from where you checked out that construction site. But what did you find? Melody asks. I was told about, an explosion? An explosion, says Little Miss Dambuster, Podge says. Yeah, they set the place to blow. But I still got lots of interesting information. I've been able to develop a working knowledge of the company's Eater of Names used, Everlight and the drone, though I can't tell if he tricked the drone into working for him or if the drone collaborated willingly. Lots of companies connected to Neo Albion and the cult's Huvid department, Chemicon, GRC Media. What? Melody says. They were on the list. Okay. Alright. So, we have Podge thinking that Daphne is not on the up and up, that she's spying on us, and now GRC Media is on the list of companies associated with the Black Spiral Dancers. That's not great. That's not great. There's a lot of incidental evidence that points Miss Clear's way, but nothing solid. We need more data. You try to review everything you've learned so far, then you notice how miserable Elton looks. He knows something. Out with it, you say. Elton shifts unhappily, sips his coffee, and says, I'm thinking about what Owl and I saw at the construction site. Worm spirits were everywhere. Yes, Fenris thinks he's fighting the worm when he's obviously a servant of the worm, Melody says. That's sort of the big joke about Fenris. Why are you doing this to me? Oh my god, why don't you fear us? Sibby has curled up in Melody's lap. That's amazing. I'm gonna, don't mind me. Give me 1 second. I love that interaction so much. I'm saving it. But also Weaver spirits, Elton continues as Melody struggles under the cat, including some loyal to Daphne Clear, biomechanical watchers hidden in the Umbra. You can't think of anything damning, but Miss Clear has been weird and cagey since Esther's restaurant, and it's hard to trust her. That's why I've struck a deal with Cockroach, a spirit of digital protection, and why I don't want this meeting broadcast over the group chat, Podge says, and why I think we need to get rid of Daphne Clear. Patrick, we've talked about this, Elton snaps. And you weren't very convincing, Podge says. He stands up, looks at all of you. Daphne is compromised. She's working for Eater of Names. Okay, prove it. Prove it. You can't trust her, Podge says. I've heard this before, Elton says with a dismissive wave of his scarred hand. When they locked me up before the Battle of Graves Farm, nothing but hints and insinuations. Patrick, you're starting to lose your mind about Miss Clear. You're freezing up again, Podge snaps. You spent 3 years doing nothing while I fought Everlight, and now you... Well, what did you accomplish? Elton says. Some terrorist bombings? Director Sullivan ruined the big calc to make money on your watch. We lost everyone at the Battle of Graves Farm, and you didn't do any better than I did in the years afterwards. Now we have 2 more allies, and you're going to kill one because you think she's in league with the devil. That's enough. Everyone sits down. Good. Except you, Sierra. Oh, I just realized. Okay. You're still in front of the fire, eating your burrito. Oh, and Sibby, she is right to flee when I'm inhabiting Clorinda. Hello, Stormcat, Nin says. You're in my new song. So is Daphne Clear working with Eater of Names? Melody asks me as if it's my job to figure out Garu politics. It is, Melody says stupidly, her frizzy hair and unfortunate hoop earrings making her look like a... And stop trying to write your way into authority, Melody says. You weren't strong enough to do that when you were an Archon. Now you're just a Pikachu with mange. My cats do not have mange, Elton says. I am here because your attempts to protect yourselves have backfired. Patrick's security programs and the Shadow Guardians that Elton has placed around his building have guaranteed that you're not receiving texts. You check your phone, and in that time, I killed 2 of the stupider Guardians. Their ectoplasmic innards drip into the physical world and sizzle on the last remaining carpet. That's when the alerts roll in, and you all realize you're under attack. Fuck! Your phone buzzes with frantic texts, even as Watcher spirits flee my wrath. State police, backed by a private security force, are closing in on Hoblin's compound. They haven't attacked yet, but he and Roscoe are pinned down. They're planning either a violent escape or a heroic last stand. At the same time, municipal police are clearing out the slums of Rosemary Street, arresting squatters in the physical world as a horrific battle rages on in the Umbra between spirits loyal to Rat and Spider on the one hand, and an invading force of Banes on the other. Podge is receiving panicked texts from his friends there, even as mouse knights and flying shadows tumble into the flat and squeak their warnings. Other spirits have arrived, echoes of Fox and Porcupine, allies of Unicorn and Stag, who warn Nin that developers have just rolled into the forest. There are brooding trees and smashing the old stone walls to make room for another Hoovid development project. It's a coordinated attack on your territory. It seems like only the Barrows are safe so far, as the maze-like swamps and the shades of the dead protect the oldest ancestral lands. Jesus Christ! All right, sorry for the long silence. I'm just like... All right. Obviously, I want to save Roscoe and Hoblin because I need them to help, like, get stuff from them. But it's police, and they could run, so that's maybe a thing. They maybe have a chance of escape without us. The slums are bad. That's a bad thing. I feel bad about that one. But again, the forest is the only one that has nothing to defend itself based on this description. All the other ones like have like, it sort of says that like they're fighting it, but they might lose. But the forest has nothing to defend itself with, and I am a werewolf. I think I have to go for the forest, and I hate it. I hate this. I hate this. I'm miserable right now. You start to talk at the same time everyone else shouts and jumps back to their feet like the panicky fools they are. Why am I required to organize werewolves instead of Gaia's more intelligent service? Thank you. Thank you for admitting, Sierra, that you are not smart. Nin is barking about protecting the forest spirits. Podge predictably wants you to save a bunch of junkies from the jackboot of gentrification. And of course, Melody is worried about the 3 families, even though they failed so thoroughly at the Battle of Graves Farm that Eater of Names was able to... Stormcat, shut up! Melody says, pulling her coat on. I literally can't hear myself think when you do that. You are thinking in 3 different directions, Melody. If you scatter, you'll die, just like last time. Sierra is right, Elton says. Nin's woods are our connection to Gaia. If they die, we're powerless. This isn't the Iron Age, Elton, Podge says. Spirits live everywhere, as do our allies. Our allies are trapped in Hoblin's cabin right now, Melody says. We need to help them. All right. I know that Nin is like, we can't split up, right? That was just Stormcat saying she's, well, not me being more intelligent. If you scatter your die. All right, then we die. But this is the best option. Podge can go to Rosemary Street, Melody can go to Hoblin and Roscoe, and Nin, me, and Elton can go into the forest. That seems like the best option. If Podge and Melody dies, then I will mourn their deaths. Christ, this is awful. I hate this. The deep woods where the spirits grow strong are, by definition, trackless, but the developers had to cut a path to get in. Though Podge is obviously thinking about Rosemary Street, he takes an educated guess as everyone loads into the truck, then accelerates hard through town. His first stop is a rural road over the border in West Hampton. Are you sure about this? He asks Melody. I need to help the humans, the Philodox says, grabbing a backpack. She heads straight north towards Hoblin's compound. A few minutes later, Podge slows the truck a few minutes after he passes the Veterans Hospital. I bet they're developing from the road behind the old folks' home, Podge says. You can cut straight through here and you're bound to hit something. I have work back in town. Last call for bombs or guns. Binoculars, Elton mutters. Podge hands him a pair of night vision binoculars. He watches the two of you hop out, then rolls away in a cloud of grit. Nin sprints into the woods, following her owl spirit, then hops onto a fallen log and waits for the rest of you to catch up. You and Elton move more cautiously, knowing that whatever development is being planned, it'll take time. The floodlights are visible from a quarter-mile off. They're probably visible from space, sizzling blue-white radiance that makes the trees look black and makes the remaining snow glow like radioactive powder. The operation itself is massive, a dozen earth movers and other industrial vehicles, almost as many trailers and private trucks and SUVs, all parked on a hastily leveled lot of packed earth. The bleak rectangular expanse reminds you of the lot around Mountain Street Scientific you explored with Melody. The parking lot isn't far from a snowmobile path they must have widened to reach this deep into the forest, and though they still haven't gone far, you can see where their trail will eventually lead them. Unicorn, Nin says in the primal tongue. A straight-line path into the woods will eventually take them to the statues of the patron spirits. But this doesn't look like a logging operation, Elton says, eyes narrowed. It looks more like the housing development I explored. The one with connections to both Neo Albion and Hoover Development. And I don't think this is normal human economic activity. There's Neo Albion, you whisper, instinctively ducking when you see two men in black caps and windbreakers crossing into the blue-white radiance of the lights. But I don't see the cult of Fenris, you say. Hoover Development doesn't really have a logo, though, and you don't expect to find the cult's grasping claw glyph on the side of a work van. But speaking of work vans, you see one of them open and back, a computer office that reminds you a bit of Roscoe's van full of electronics. It ends tonight, Nin snarls. Her fangs flicker, suddenly huge, as she barely resists a spontaneous change into her hippo form. She's right. We can hit them while they're setting up, before they hurt us. Oh. She is, but we need to protect the God, come on. We need to protect the spirits here. That'll take care. Blowing up 50 tons of gas-powered machinery isn't good for the land. Nin yips because she too doesn't want her land to become a war zone. She darts back and forth. The plan, she says, is to scout the periphery, then get rid of the developers in a way that doesn't level a quarter-mile of forest. Elton sits on a dry rock and closes his eyes to contact the spirits. Nin sniffs the air and snarls. She's caught the scent of something she doesn't like. The Galliard heads directly into the construction site, past a parked van full of flashlights and surveying equipment. She's small enough that she can pass unnoticed. Oh. The spirits know they're in danger. I concentrate and listen to their cries to learn what they need and to reassure them. This is awful. All right, I'm gonna have to stop right here. They've upset Nin. They must be stopped. I know. And that's another reason why I picked the forest, because I know that's really important to Nin. And as much as I think As much as I think Elton is sort of brushed aside, and maybe for good reason by everybody, I really feel like Nin's opinions on things and her point of view on things really gets tossed aside like the most by everyone. Less so by Podge, but in general, the most. And so I know she would want to protect the forest, and we should protect the forest because the forest cannot protect itself, unlike people in the urban areas and the people at Roscoe and Hobland at their compound. But anyway, I will be back playing this again tomorrow. I'm terrified. I'm terrified that I just sent Melody and Podge to their deaths. That'll bum me out hardcore. But I hope we can handle this. I am really good at doing things and not making mistakes. That's what I'm known for. But thank you so much. I will see you tomorrow for more Book of Hungry Names. And yeah, have a great day, everybody.